Hi guys, it's Vanessa and I'm coming to you from the kitchen this week, but we'll be making things with stuff from the garden. And today I'm going to give you all the basic rundown on how to make a calendula salve. We're going to go over the basics of making a salve, a balm, and a whipped body butter. And we're going to be making some comfrey salve and body butter as well. So I'll go over a little bit more info on how to use a different texture and water content of herb to infuse for other purposes. Now, why would we make a body rub or salve with calendula, and what is calendula? Calendula is a medicinal herb and flower that can be grown over the cooler months here in the South. Now, you can grow it probably throughout the warmer months if you're in a more northern portion of the United States. Right now it's December and I am just now starting to harvest my calendula for the season. And by harvest, I mean I'm picking the heads of the flowers and letting them dry so that I can store them and then infuse them with a liquid skin-safe oil to then be able to easily make my balm, salve, and body butters just in time for Christmas, because everybody gets a gift basket from me this time of year. So what is calendula even good for? Well, it's really great for regenerating skin cells. So it can be very helpful if you have light abrasions, some burns or irritations, and even sometimes certain types of acne can react well to calendula because it's antimicrobial and antifungal. You may actually see calendula as an ingredient in some of the Mederma scar cream products nowadays because they have realized it does have some scientifically proven properties of actually speeding up the healing process of skin. So it's an easy flower and herb that you can grow this time of year. And today we're going to go over how to plant and grow calendula, as well as how to harvest it, dry it, infuse it into a liquid oil, and then be able to use that liquid oil to make a balm, like a lip balm, a salve, which is a little bit softer to rub on any part of your outer skin, or a body butter, which can be whipped or a little bit more firm that can be used as a nice moisturizing cream that can also have some medicinal properties mixed into it. So first, let's go over what's the basic composition of a salve, and let's talk about the different ingredients that you can actually use inside of your salve, because you have a few options.
So a basic salve is just liquid skin-safe oil melted together with a wax of your choice, and then you can infuse that liquid oil with any herb of your choice that also has good properties for your skin.
So the first portion is to figure out what kind of liquid oil or liquid fat that you're going to infuse the medicinal properties of your dried calendula flower or any other dried herb in this instance.
After you've infused your herb into your oil over a period of a few weeks, then you'll strain it out and get it measured. And this will be the base to our salve recipe.
Olive oil and grapeseed oil are great options, and these are obviously not the highest quality ones, but they are inexpensive. And so if you're concerned about keeping this accessible because of cost, grapeseed oil is one of the best options because one, it's affordable, and two, it's really low on the comedogenic scale. The comedogenic scale is something that lets us know what are the pore clogging properties of any specific oil that you may be putting on your skin. For some people, they're a little more sensitive to certain things, and they do okay with other things. But this comedogenic scale that I'm going to share on the screen right here can be referenced, and it is a great way to know what are the liquid oils or fats that I can use that are going to give me the least problems when it comes to clogging the pores of my skin. One of the other options that I really like to use but is quite a bit more expensive is jojoba oil. Jojoba oil is very, very nourishing to the skin, so jojoba oil can just be added to the other liquid oil if you're still trying to save money but you want to have more moisturizing benefits mixed into your salve or balm. If you're not concerned with any nut allergies, sweet almond oil would be my next best choice besides jojoba oil as far as quality of skin soothing and moisturizing liquid oil. It is a little less expensive than jojoba oil. You just need to make sure that it's okay that you have nuts being applied to the skin or ingested in case somebody puts it on their hands and then goes to eat food. Okay, so you've started your oil infusion. How long should you leave your herbs inside of your oil, and where should you store them in order to get as much of the medicinal properties out of those dried herbs as possible into that oil?
You want to make sure that your herbs are completely covered in oil all the way to the top of the jar to get a good infusion.
The standard that I try to use is to at least let the herbs sit in the oil for about 6 weeks. There are some caveats to this where you can decide to speed up the process a little bit by taking the herbs inside of the oil and putting that in a double boiler setting where you have very gentle heat being applied to the oil and the herbs. And for about 2 to 3 hours, you can let that sit in a water bath, and that can pull a lot of those medicinal properties from your herbs. As long as you're just not getting too hot, you really don't want to to degrade the oil and you don't want to degrade the properties of the herbs. When you're storing your herbs inside of your liquid oil in order to infuse, you can do it in a sunny windowsill, or you can just put it in a dark cabinet. It will probably infuse a little faster. Just make sure that it's not too hot for extended periods of time, like in Texas in the summertime. That would be a little bit hot if it were in a south-facing window, just so you don't degrade the herbs and degrade the oil.
The next step is to chop up your beeswax based on the ratio that you're going to be using and melt it down with your liquid infused oil on a double boiler. We're going for gentle heat just until the beeswax melts and can be incorporated fully. At this point, you've made a salve. It's a basic salve and it uses a ratio that I'm about to go over in the next part, but you can pour it into containers and let it cool.
One form that beeswax comes in is in these pastilles, and these are pretty well filtered, so they're going to be pretty white looking instead of like yellow beeswax that you may be used to. But they're really easy to use because you can just scoop them out and they melt really fast because they're super tiny. I'm going to give you a close-up of what these guys look like.
Like super tiny.
The other way that you might see beeswax is in big chunks. Now this is kind of a 1 ounce brick, and a great way to know if your beeswax is real is to buy it directly from an apiary. If you can find places near you, start with the farmer's market. You can type in apiary near me and you might be able to reach out to them, see if they have some beeswax. But be careful when you're ordering off Amazon because sometimes the beeswax is cut with other waxes for them to make a higher profit. This is a little bit harder to melt because you have to cut it and then melt it, and you're going to see me having to cut chunks off of a brick like this in this video. It takes a while to get it melted. So this is great because it's easier to find it in this form. This is great because it's really convenient for actually melting into your liquid oil. So what's the difference between a balm, a salve, and a body butter? Really, it's just the thickness and the firmness of your final product. So here's how you can change the thickness and the firmness of your final product. That is by taking that liquid infused oil and changing the ratio of how much solid fat or solid room temp wax you are adding to the liquid oil. So a balm is typically a lot more firm, and it's something that you could potentially put in a chapstick container and you could twist that up and the chapstick would stay whole and firm. You would really need to warm it up with the warmth of your body to get it to apply to your skin. That is typically using a ratio of 1 part wax to 3 parts liquid oil. You can sub out a little bit of the wax with things like cocoa butter and shea butter, which are really moisturizing, and that can still give you a nice firm lip balm that can go in a tin or a push-up chapstick. A salve is just a little bit easier for me to actually scoop up onto my finger like this. It just tends to be a little bit easier to get a pretty good scoop and rub it into my skin. Now, a typical ratio for salve that is about this firm, that I had to press a little bit with my finger to actually warm it up, but I got a chunk on there already pretty easily. That ratio is 1 part wax to 4 parts of liquid oil. That's just a base ratio. You can always change it up a little bit here and there, but to give you a baseline of which one you may want to go for. Now, when it comes to body butters, you have a lot of options for body butters. So body butter can be anything from coconut oil, shea butter, cocoa butter as the base, and then you can put in your liquid infused fats, or you can just put in a nice moisturizing fat to blend that together, just avoiding adding water so that it doesn't go rancid. But it's typically a lot easier to scoop up. It's going to be really close to a lotion. Now, one way that I like to efficiently make multiple products out of one batch of infused herbs is to start by either making a balm batch or a salve batch.
And then I just add some more fats that are solid at room temp, like shea butter and tallow, that make for a really nice body butter cream. And I just whisk that in until it's emulsified and then let that chill kind of at room temp to make a body butter.
I can finish by whipping that together if I want to make it light and airy, and that gives me the infused oil, the stability from the wax just a little bit to keep it from melting as easily, but that nice creamy moisturizing texture that we look for in a body butter or a lotion. So what if you want to use other herbs to infuse to get other medicinal properties out of them when it comes to making topical medicinal skincare? So comfrey is actually a really cool herb that I grow in my garden.
And I grow the sterile perennial comfrey. underneath my blackberry vines, and I just pick leaves when I need them.
I like to dry it to this stage where it's completely dry and infuse it into a grapeseed oil typically because it's less expensive, and do the same exact process that I would do with my calendula salve. And you can see it makes it almost a bright olive green color because comfrey is also known as bone set, and it's really great topically for helping heal vascular problems or bruising. And it also really helps with sore muscles. So it can be used as a blend with calendula as a all-around skin healing, injury healing salve if you wanted to. I use it when it comes to fibromyalgia flares and like my muscles and everything just feel really sore. But we've done a poultice of comfrey on top of a really bad hematoma before. It pretty much healed within a few hours instead of getting to the stage that we expected a normal, really bad bruise on the shin to get to. Now, when it comes to practicing herbalism at home, you should never just only opt for herbs. The beauty of modern medicine is that if you have a broken bone, you should probably go to the ER and at least get it set and scanned. But it's sometimes not necessary to have major intervention, and it's really cool to be able to control the quality of the herbs that you have in your apothecary by growing them yourself.
So when you're growing calendula, it actually directs seeds really easily into most garden conditions. In this video, I'm putting some on the edge of one of my Garden in Minutes raised beds, and you can see the grid irrigation here. It really helps me get things established pretty easily, but calendula is all around pretty easy to grow, and within about 4 to 6 weeks, you'll start to see your first blooms. Now, you can start picking then, but once it gets to peak blooming season, it's time to pick and pick and pick. The more you pick, the more it will grow in, and soon you'll start to see heads that are drying, and you'll be able to collect your own seeds so that you can save them for the next round. Then you dry these flower heads to get ready to infuse them into oil for your salve recipe.
Now, just a side note, I've had some people ask me if they can use castor oil to infuse herbs with, and you can do that. Castor oil is kind of pricey, and you do need to be really careful with castor oil because it can clog the tear ducts around your eyes, so you want to make sure you're not getting it around there. This can cause major issues with your eyesight, so just be really careful. If you want the added benefits of castor oil, just know you can add that in at any point in this process. You don't have to infuse the herb into that oil. You can use a less expensive, but still low on the comedogenic scale liquid oil to infuse the majority of your herbs, get those medicinal properties out of those herbs as much as possible, and then add in any other skin nourishing ingredients like vitamin E oil or castor oil in the back end of this process. It's important to make sure that your herbs are dried as much as possible before you infuse them into the oil because we're trying to avoid these balms and salves going rancid. The best way to manage that is to make sure there is as little of added water content to this mixture throughout the entire process as possible. Making sure that your herbs are completely dried can help reduce any extra water that might be added just from simply steeping your herbs in your oil. You can infuse oil with fresh herbs. You just run the risk of some of your final products going rancid a little bit sooner. So then you can strain it out when it's ready and have that really supercharged oil to be able to mix in with other solid waxes and butters to do whatever you want with it. I hope this video has been helpful to give you a little bit more confidence in making your own skincare products at home. It can feel really daunting at first, but it is actually really doable, as you can see. And it's not hard to grow a lot of herbs in your own small garden, no matter where you live, but specifically in Texas, that can be used for their medicinal purposes with great success and not a lot of processing. As always, I appreciate you being here for the entirety of this video if you've made it this far. Having you guys as part of my personal garden community has really been a game changer for me, so I just want to let you know that I appreciate each and every one of you. And please drop any questions you have in the comments below. And I've got to go finish making some pretty labels for all of my calendula salve and body butters to make sure that my gift baskets look nice and pretty for our solstice party where we exchange gifts coming up on the 21st. If you're not ready to get into salve making just yet, you should at least go throw some calendula seeds out in the soil because it is time to plant them so that you can have a nice, fun, beautiful yellow and gold flower growing in the garden that pollinators will love, because remember, if you never grow, you'll never know.